Hello everyone, welcome back to Target Prelims 2026 by Drishti IAS. In the previous episodes, we have discussed some of the MCQs, and in today's episode as well, we will be talking about history, and herein we will be moving further in our discussions, and we will be talking about a few more questions from the history segment. Okay, so let's start with the question number 1 here. Consider the following statement. In Sangam literature, poetic themes are broadly classified under Akam and Puram. Okay, that is the first statement. Second is the Akam poetry deals with the themes of war and heroism, while Puram poetry expresses emotions of the love and personal life. You have to choose the correct statements. Now when we talk about the Sangam literature, so when we talk about the Sangam grammar, there are two kind of poetry which has been defined over here, Akam and Puram. Now when we talk about Akam is basically you can say dealing with the personal emotions, or you can say love or the personal life. And when we talk about the Puram is basically the stories of wars and valor. Okay, so here you can say statement 1 is correct. The Sangam literature is divided into two parts, that is Akam and Puram. Then Akam poetry deals with the themes of war. Now this is incorrect because it deals with the love and personal life, and the Puram poetry deals with the themes of war. So they have interchanged the things over here. So statement 2 is incorrect. Option 1 would be your right answer, that is only 1. Okay, so we have already discussed this Akam. When we talk about the structure of Sangam literature or the grammar of the Sangam literature, so that is called as the Tholkapiyam. Okay, so this particular term you can remember, Tholkapiyam, and that Tholkapiyam is talking about two kind of poetry, that is Akam and the Puram. Akam is your interior sphere or the personal life, your emotions, and Puram is basically dealing with the public domain or themes of war and valor. Okay, now this is what is written over here. You can go through this and we can move further to the next question. Consider the following pairs. Kingdom and the capitals are given over here. Now when we talk about the Sangam time, or you can say the Sangam period, so in that time we know that Chola, Cheras and Pandyas are the most prominent rulers in that particular area. Okay, now they are talking about their capitals. So when we talk about Cholas, Uriyur was their capital, so this particular pairing is correct. Now when we talk about Cheras, that is Vanji, okay, and then Pandyas, that is Madurai. So here you can say the Pandyas were from the Madurai, so this pairing is incorrect. So the first one is the only one which is correct, so option A would be your right answer. Okay, now when we look at the history, some kind of visualizations you should have so that you can eliminate things. Okay, you should know that in which area they were ruling, in which part of our country or our subcontinent they were ruling. Okay, so that will help you a lot. Now here you can see Cholas, Uriyur, that was the capital. Pandyas, Madurai was the capital. Now Cheras, so here you can say there was, at different times different prominent cities were there. Okay, so here you can say the Cholas from the Uriyur, they are from the Surya Vansh, or the lineage that is from the solar origin they were claiming to be. Then Cheras, that is your Vanji or the Mahodayapuram. Okay, Vanji or Mahodayapuram, these are the name of the capitals. Here this Karur is also important center, because this capital, that is Vanji, that was near Karur. Okay, so these three names you should remember, and you have to associate these names with the Cheras. Okay, coming to the next one, that is Pandyas, that is from Madurai, which we have already seen. Now this is the same thing which has been given over here. Again, for your convenience, I'll be telling you Sangam age was marked by the political dominance of the three early Tamil kingdoms, that is Chola, Cheras and Pandyas. Okay, and that mention is there in the Sangam literature, which we have already seen. Okay, then comes the next part. The Chola kingdom's capital was Uriyur, which we have already seen. Then the historical sources shows that the Vanji near Karur was the Chera capital. The Cheras of Mahodayapuram maintained distinct political structure. Okay, so when they are saying that the Cheras of Mahodayapuram, so at any point of time, the Mahodayapuram might have been a prominent area. Okay, then coming to the next one, that is the Pandyas. We have already discussed that, that is from the Madurai. Okay, now coming to the next question, that is the consider the following statement about the society of Sangam age. Okay, recently we have seen that there are trends that they are asking a lot of questions from the Sangam era, Sangam literature, etc. So you have to focus more on that as well. Now social classes were primarily based on the occupation rather than the hierarchical Varna distinctions. So that statement is correct, because you must have seen that in the Vedic age as well, or the Sangam age, initially they were based on the occupation and not by birth. Okay, coming to the next one. War heroes were honored with the memorial stones called the Nadukkal or Virukkal. Okay, Nadukkal or Virukkal, these are the stones that used to be raised for the kind of war memorials. Okay, so that statement is also true. Option C would be your right answer. Even when we talk about the Indus Valley or otherwise also, we have seen that the monolith, raising the monolith in the southern part of India on the burials, etc., that has been a practice. Okay, so here you can see Sangam Age around 300 BC to 300 AD. Though when we talk about Sangam, there were 3 Sangam which has happened. Okay, though for the first Sangam we do not have any kind of evidence. Okay, so that literature is not preserved in a very prominent form, but again there are lot of things from the Sangam literature that gives idea about the Chola, Cheras and Pandyas. Okay, people were identified based on the occupation, or you can say the social structure there was based on the occupation, such as artisans, merchants, farmers, etc. Then war heroes occupied a special position in the society, so there were these kind of stones, or you can say monoliths, which used to be raised, and that was called as the Virukkal or Nadukkal. Okay, coming to the next question, consider the following statement about South India's overseas trade during the Sangam literature. We know that during Sangams we had a huge amount of trade with the Romans as well, or when we talk about the Malay Peninsula as well. Okay, now direct trade with the Roman world was facilitated by the discovery of monsoon winds, reducing the role of Arab middlemen. Now this statement is true. I'll tell you why and how you will be seeing that how monsoon winds are basically helping in trades. Okay, coming to the next one, the South Indian exported both raw materials and the finished products, including spices, timber, precious stones, beads and the colored cotton clothes. This statement is also true. Option C is your right answer. Now I'll be telling you that how the monsoon was you can say facilitating the trade. Now here in this picture you can see, you know that when we talk about the monsoon, we have a seasonal reversal of monsoon. We have you can say southwestern monsoon, and then you can say reversal of the monsoon, which is also witnessed. Now earlier when the Romans were not having trades with us, or they were trying to come to this part, they used to take the help of the Arab middlemen. Okay, but after some point of time when they started coming from this particular area, so when they had the idea of the southwest monsoon, they know that the winds are flowing in this particular direction in a particular time of the year. At that point of time, the voyages, or the you can say the kind of navigation in this particular region would have been easy, because winds are taking them along them. Okay, so that is when they realized that in a particular time of the year, if they are going towards the Indian subcontinent, it is beneficial, and for returning there is another time of the year, that is your reversal of the monsoon. So that idea of the monsoon, they have actually reduced the Arab middlemen, and direct trade started to happen with the Roman Empire. So that is how the monsoon started to impact the trade. So this statement is correct, and statement 2 is also correct. Option C would be your right answer. Okay, now moving further, you can go through this explanation. We have already talked about it. This statement 2 already discussed that spices, timber, ivory, etc. Were part of the trade. Okay. Now coming to the next one, that is the consider the following statement about the Samudragupta's conquest. Samudragupta annexed the territories of Aryavarta kings, but allowed the defeated Dakshinpatha kings to rule under his suzerainty. Or when we talk about the Indian subcontinent, you know that this is how it was there, and it is divided, or you can say when we talk about the Deccan Plateau and this part, this is basically your Dakshinpatha. Okay, and this was the Aryavarta. Now when we talk about the Samudragupta, he has conquered this particular path, and since the center of power was here, so he ruled that area directly. Okay, but in the peripheral areas, some kings were having you can say some kind of tribute they used to pay to Samudragupta, and they used to have some kind of, you can say, autonomy, but that area was under the direct rule of Samudragupta. Okay, then comes the Dakshinpatha. So he used to go conquest, or you can say conquer the area, but then he used to give that area to the ruler, and they used to rule. So basically what used to happen is that there was this concept of Grahan and then Moksha. Okay, Grahan is when he used to capture the area, and Moksha is when he used to release that area to the respective ruler, and they used to the Samudragupta used to allow him to rule in that particular area under his own authority or the sovereignty. Okay, so that is basically what used to happen during the reign of Samudragupta. Okay, so Samudragupta annexed the territories of the Aryavarta king, but allowed the defeated Dakshin Patha kings to rule under his suzerainty. So basically, that is what, when we talking about the defeat, that was Grahan. And then when he used to, you can say, allow them, so that was Moksha. Okay, so second statement says the Dakshin Patha kings were captured and then released, reflecting a policy of Grahan followed by the Moksha. Okay, so you can say that statement 2 is explaining the statement 1. Okay, coming to the statement 3, all the northern and the frontier king completely lost their independence and were directly integrated into the Gupta empire. That is what I told you, that not all the Aryavarta kings, but the frontier kings were having some kind of autonomy in exchange of a tribute. Okay, so statement 3 is incorrect, statement 2 is correct, statement 1 is correct, and statement 2 is basically explaining statement 1. So here you can see option C would be your right answer. Only one of the statement 2 and 3 is correct. So we have seen that only statement 2 is correct here, and that explains the statement 1. So option C is your right answer. This is exactly what is being explained over here when we talk about the north, that was Aryavarta, and then when we talk about the south, that was the Dakshin path. Here direct annexation were there, but in you can say some kind of tribute, in the exchange of the tribute they used to retain the independence as well. Okay, but only in the frontier region. Then coming to the next part, that is Dakshin Patha. So first they used to capture, the Samudragupta used to defeat the ruler over there, that is Grahan, and after that he used to release under his own suzerainty, and that was Moksha. Okay, so that is what has been explained over here. You can go through this. Coming to the question number 6, consider the following statement. Huna invasion dealt a major blow to Gupta authority, particularly in the northern and the western regions of the empire. Then comes the second one. The Huna first began to gain grounds in India during the later phase of Kumar Gupta's reign and expanded further under the Toraman and the Mehirkula. Okay, so here both the statements are correct if you have read about the history. So when the Gupta empire was falling, so there was this you can say attacks, or you can say the Hunas got inside the subcontinent. So Huna invasion dealt a major blow to the Gupta authority. That statement is correct, and they came from the western part. So that is the area which was impacted, northern and the western region of the empire. The Hunas first began to gain grounds during the times of the Kumar Gupta. Okay, now here you can see when we talk about this. So when we talk about the Kumar Gupta, here you can say initial Huna attack, or you can say invasion, was during the Kumar Gupta, and after that you will be seeing that post Skand Gupta. Okay, that was the last ruler, you can say, or you can say prominent ruler at that point of time. So at that point of time, that was the heavy damage which was done in the western and the northern region, and then the rulers like Toraman and Mehirkula, these are the Hun rulers, they actually take control over the area. Okay, so here both the statements are correct, and statement 2 is explaining the statement 1. So option A would be your right answer. Okay, so this is what has been given over here. You can go through this. Question number 7 says that which of the following best captures the nuanced observation by the Huan Tsang about the reign of Harshavardhana. So they are talking about the reign of Harshavardhana, and they are telling that you have to identify that which is true. Okay, he viewed Harsha's kingdom as a purely Buddhist theocracy governed through the monastic institutions rather than the royal officials. This statement is a bit extreme, and this is not true as well, because when we talk about Harsha, he is considered as a tolerant ruler. Okay, so that is why the statement 1 becomes wrong. Comes to the second. He described Harsha as the Mahayana Buddhist who also supported Brahminical faith and reflected a coexistence of the religious traditions. That might be true, so we can keep it. Coming to the next one, he described Harsha as a ruler whose political authority was weakened by his religious tolerance and reliance on the Buddhist clergy for the administration. This is also you can say incorrect, because he was not reliant on the Buddhist clergy. Basically, he actually he was kind of a patriot or he has supported the Buddhism at that point of time. You must have heard about the Buddhist council. One of them was done by Harsha. Okay, then comes the next one. He emphasized that Harsha's religious policies were exclusively aimed at suppressing Brahminical institution. Again, this is also extreme and incorrect over here. So option B would be your right answer. Okay. Now here you can say some of the observation which has been made by Huan Sang. So during this particular time period, or Harsha's time period, he came to India. So here you can say Harsha was a ruler in the Kannauj and the Madhya, you can say in the central India. Okay, and he was a patron of Mahayana Buddhism. Okay, he used to worship Buddha. At the same time, he used to worship Shiva and the sun as well. Okay, then lavish gifts to the monks and the official, as I told you that he supported Buddhism a lot, so that was there, and charitable grants to the Brahmanas as well. So he was tolerant and he has supported every religion. Okay, so that was about Harsha. So option B would be a right answer, which we have already discussed, and same things are written over here. Huan Sang, a Chinese Buddhist pilgrim, he came to India. Now when we talk about the Huan Sang, you must be reading about all the travelers which came to India, because that has been asked by UPSC in the previous years as well, and they can ask it again. Okay, in his detailed account, Huan Sang presented Harsha as a follower of Mahayana Buddhism, and he used to give gifts and the lands to the monks at for Buddhism, and at the same time he used to give the lands or the charity to the Brahmins as well. Okay, so this is about Harsha. Coming to the next one. With reference to Mauryan administration, consider the following statements. The village headman was accountable to the Samarthata and the Sanidhata at the provincial level. This particular question we have already discussed in the previous episode, so you can go through that, watch that episode if you have not, or you can go through this particular slide because we have already discussed it. So basically the thing is over here, I'll repeat it for you. The village headman was accountable to the Samarthata and the Sanidhata at the provincial level. So they were not accountable at the provincial level, they were accountable at the district level. Okay, at the local administration, I would say. Then land revenue was mainly collected as bhaga, and second was your sharecroppers. Bhaga was basically, you can say, when we talk about the peasantry class or the farmers, there were two kind of farmers which were there. One was the independent. Independent peasant means that they had their own land. So from that land, whatever produce was there, 1/6 bhag was to be given to the state. Okay, so that was one kind of tax. Second was the sharecroppers. Sharecroppers, they do not have their own land. The state used to give them land, and then whatever produce was there from that particular land, half of that is to be given to the state. Okay, so these were the two kind of taxes which were there. Okay, so this statement is correct. Coming to the next one, the irrigation facilities were regulated by the state. That is also true. Sorry. And there was a water cess. Okay, so through what kind of tax, or through water cess, they used to regulate the irrigation facilities. Okay, so here you can say that statement 2 and 3 is correct. Option C would be your right answer. You can go through this slide which we have already discussed. Here you can see independent peasants were there, and then sharecroppers were there, and that irrigated land was controlled under a water cess. Then they used to give all the revenue to the village headman, and village headman was under the local administration. Okay, and then this whole system was under the Samarthata and the Sanidhata, but this village headman was not directly reporting to them. Okay, so next is question number 9. Consider the following statements. Statement 1 is Pulakesin II succeeded in bringing almost entire Kannada speaking region under one political authority. That statement is correct. Okay, that the kind of political vacuum was there at that point of time, that was basically filled by the Pulakesin. Okay, then the Alupas of the west coast and the Gangas or the Gangs of the South Karnataka accepted the suzerainty of the Chalukyas of Badami. This statement is also true. Okay, now here you can see the statement 2 is basically saying that they have taken control of the west coast and South Karnataka. Okay, and this is how they have made the entire Kannada speaking area under one political entity. So you can say that statement 2 is basically supporting the statement 1. Coming to the statement 3, Pulakesin established a control over the Pallava capital, that is Kanchipuram, after defeating the Mahendravarman I. Now, one statement is fine, or you can say one part of the statement is fine, that the Pulakesin II has gone for the attack on the Pallava capital, and he has also defeated the Pallavas. But the thing is, he could not enter till Kanchipuram. Okay, he defeated, he got inside the territory, but he did not go to the capital, that is Kanchipuram. Okay, so that is why this statement is incorrect. What happened was that Pulakesin first attacked on the Pallavas, and then after a particular time, the Pallavas again, you can say, attacked on the Pulakesin. So basically, Pulakesin attacked on the Mahendravarman, and Mahendravarman's son Narasimhavarman attacked back on the Pulakesin. Okay, so that is how it was there. So statement 3 is incorrect. We can say that statement 1 and 2 is correct, and statement 2 is basically supporting the 1. So option C would be a right answer, that only one of the statement, second and third, only one statement is correct, and that statement is supporting the statement 1. Okay, so here you can see that is Badami, that is basically Pulakesin, capital of you can say Pulakesin, and here these Alupas and the Gangs, they were you can say defeated, and they were merged with the Badami. Okay, here. So this is what is written over here. You can go through this. And the last question says that the royal titles like Vatapi Konda, conqueror of the Vatapi, was assumed by which of the following Pallava rulers? Here one thing becomes important, as I told you that Pulakesin basically attacked Mahendravarman, and later on son of the Mahendravarman attacked Pulakesin and he won. Okay, so Narasimhavarman, sorry, not Narendravarman, Narasimhavarman was the one who basically you can say got the title of Vatapi Konda. Okay, so option B would be your right answer. So here you can see Pallava dynasty was one of the most significant power in the southern region of India. Okay, and they were famous for their temple architecture, art, etc. UPSC has asked about them in the mains as well. Now Narasimhavarman I earned the title of Vatapi Konda by conquering or you can say Vatapi Konda, that means that the conqueror of Vatapi, by defeating Pulakesin II of the Chalukya ruler of the Vatapi. His reign was marked at the height of the Pallava power, with victorious over the Chalukyas, Cheras and Pandyas, and successful naval expeditions toward the Sri Lanka. So this particular ruler becomes important for you from the exams point of view. Other than that, Mahendravarman, the father of Narasimhavarman, I have already told you about that. Pulakesin has attacked and he was defeated by him. Okay, and then there are other two you can say rulers which you can read from this particular slide. Okay, so answer to this question is B, that is Narasimhavarman. Okay, now for your practice there is this one question. Consider the following statement regarding Ajata Shatru. Okay, he shifted the Magadhan capital to Vaishali. He was the contemporary of Gautam Buddha. He convened the second Buddhist council. So you have to choose the correct statements among the given ones. Okay, so you can attempt this question and answer to me in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, have a nice day. Thank you, and please subscribe the channel.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.